Hi there, welcome to my channel. I have 3 tumbling tower block DIYs for you today. And I used almost a full bag of these geometric beads and I will link them down below. I used 2 of these tumbling tower block packs for the first DIY. There's 92 blocks in this. I also used some Dollar Tree super glue wood glue. I made 8 of these and they are 4 blocks each, glued end to end. If you want to, you can make this taller or make it shorter. Then I made 4 of these and they're 12 blocks in each. Again, if you wanted to make it taller or shorter, you just adjust the amount of blocks that you're going to need. For each one of these, you need 12 tower blocks and 2 of the strips of 4 tower blocks. And you're going to glue them together so they look like the ones I've already done on the screen. And I glue them all hole to hole. And then I'm just squeezing them together with the tower blocks, making sure I get rid of any excess glue. And now I am going to glue them to the tower blocks. So for this one, I'm gluing it on top of them, and just the edges of the tower blocks are joining, well, they're not joining, they're touching. And I'm going to take 2 of those and my set of 12 tower blocks, and I'm gluing that to the back edge of the tower block and bead section. And then I'm going to glue the other one in the same place. You can put it flush with the front of that if you want to, but I wanted to have it sitting back. And there's only 2 of these. And I just held it in place till it's set. So here's my 2 pieces, and then I'm just going to glue the other tower blocks onto the sides and then glue that last piece on the top. And they are also sitting at the back edge of those tower blocks. Actually, I had done that one wrong. I'd put that one at the front. So now you can see I put it at the back now. I make mistakes all the time. Sometimes I show them, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll make a whole pattern or something and realize that I've done it wrong. So I'm just setting that on top, and now I'm making the base, and it is 12 tower blocks and they're glued together, 6 on each side. And this is for the base. Just make sure you always clean up the excess glue with a wet paper towel. And I'm just going to glue the other piece on. And now to cover up these wee holes at the top, I have these wee 10mm beads. And I'll link them down below as well. And I wanted to strengthen it a bit more, so I am just gluing some extra tower blocks on the inside. I'm just gluing one in each corner. Well, on 2 corners on the bottom. So actually you need 94 blocks for this. And I stain it with the early American wood stain. And I love how this one turned out. I think it turned out so beautiful. I was tempted to paint it white, but then I decided on the early American wood stain, and I'm glad that I did. There is 25 tower blocks in this DIY, so you just need 1 box and some wood glue. I'm gluing together 4 sets of 2 tower blocks glued end to end, and always wiping off the excess glue. Then I made 4 with 3 tower blocks glued end to end. And this is like the first DIY. I am gluing the geometric beads to the tower blocks in the same way. So you just need 6 beads for this part, and they are glued together hole to hole. I tried to find these without the holes, but I haven't found them yet. If anybody finds them without the holes, please let me know. And I just use a paintbrush to get in between those wee bits on the beads. And then I am gluing this on top, just so the edges are touching, just like that. And then I'm doing the same thing with the sets of 3 tower blocks, so you need 9 beads for that. This is a DIY, you could make bigger as well if you wanted to. So three beads are like the same length as 1 tower block. And I forgot to say that I always set them out first to make sure that they fit exactly, and then it's not going to be longer than the tower blocks, because these are like the tower blocks, they're not all made the same size. So here are my pieces, and I'm arranging them like this, and I'm just going to glue them all together to make a square. And then I'm going to glue those little beads on the top and the bottom to cover up the holes. So I decided I wanted this to be a standing frame, so I'm just using some hot glue to glue to the back of this so that I can put it at an angle. You can see it like slants backwards, and I'm just putting a bunch of hot glue on and some tower blocks until it's sitting how I like, and then some extra there. And it still wasn't doing what I wanted. So I am just gluing some extra tower blocks in like this, and then it held perfect. So I have this alchemy scrapbook pad by Stamperia, and I will link it down below. I wanted to use this moon picture, so I just cut it with some scissors, and now I'm just making sure the edges are really straight with this paper cutter. And it isn't, it's just a little bit smaller than the inside of the frame, so I'm just measuring it so that I can cut another piece of scrapbook paper to go behind it, and I picked this green. So I'm just measuring that, and then I'm going to cut that down as well. I wanted a green paint to go with the green on the scrapbook paper, but I didn't have one, so I used the next 3 paints to mix up something similar. And that was Spanish Moss chalk paint by Home Decor, Folk Art Home Decor, Folk Art Dutch Aqua. And then I used a wee bit of the Plaster Waverley chalk paint. So I just pour in a wee bit of each, mostly the Dutch Aqua, and then just mixing it up until I get the colour that I want. And I only needed to mix up a wee bit of this because I'm just going to dry brush it over the beads. I don't want to paint the whole thing. If you want to, you can do that. You can make these DIYs any colour you like. You could use a photo for this if you wanted to, or if you had a nice picture, you can even get like pictures from Dollar Tree and stuff and cut them out, or print something off. So now I'm just dry brushing over the beads. I just want to bring out that square detail on the front of them. And I'm just going to hot glue this scrapbook paper on. You can put a stronger backing on it if you want to. So just making sure it fits and then just hot gluing it on. And then I'm going to hot glue the moon as well once I trim it down a wee bit. So I didn't like how this looked because there's only a wee slither of the other scrapbook paper behind it. So I thought that I would cover it up with some of this ribbon from Dollar Tree. And I've used this so many times. It's this one here, it's like the 3-pack of the ribbons. And I'm just going to cut it in half. I already measured it, and then I'm just going to cut it in half and then put that around the outside of the picture. I'm just using hot glue for that. Just make sure you don't burn your fingers. You could use some twine if you wanted, if you don't have this ribbon. Or just cut out a picture that fits. But I really wanted to use this moons. I forgot to say, I burnt all the wee hairs off it before I cut it up and put it in here because I didn't want to take the flame to the paper. But if things are not exactly how you want them, there's always ways that you can fix it. And using this wee ribbon is one that I like to do. And this is how it turned out, and I love this one too. I do love the colour green, and if you've been on my channel you know that I love moons and anything celestial. So you need 4 of these boxes for this DIY because you're gonna need 286 blocks and some wood glue. So I glued together 12 of these 3 tower blocks end to end. And then 12 of these which are 4 blocks. And this is another project. You could make it wider or skinnier if you wanted to. You could make it taller. And this is 8 of 6 blocks glued end to end. But I ended up adding another 2 blocks on each end of these later on because it wasn't tall enough for my shelves. So you need 8 by 8 blocks. And here I am just doing the same thing as I did before. I'm gluing the geometric beads in the same way. So for the sets of 3 you need 9 beads each. And I did use 222 beads for this. So if you buy a bag of beads you get 300 in it, and that's enough to make all 3 of these projects. And this one will take you a bit longer, but it's worth it in the end. So this is the 4 blocks, and you need 12 beads for each of these. So there'll be 6 of these. There's 6 of the ones with the 3 blocks in them, and then there's 4 of the ones with the. It's going to be 8 blocks by the end of it. So here, and you need, well here there's 18 there's 18 beads in each of these, but when you make it bigger you're going to need 24 beads in each. And it's just the same style as the other pieces. And just make sure that you clean off any glue that is in between the beads, because when you stain it you don't want any of that to show up, although sometimes you'll get a wee bit, can't help it. And make sure you let all your pieces dry properly before you go on to the next step. Sometimes I don't because I'm filming, but just make sure that you do. So I'm making shelves, and these are 9 blocks by 4 blocks, and I made 3 of them. Again, if you wanted, you could make them 3 by 9 or 3 by 6, or you could make more shelves if you want to. So since I am making this as I go along, I'll show you how I messed it up and what you should do to fix it. Because sometimes I don't know until I make things how it is in my head. It doesn't quite work out, and you have to make it to figure out what would be better. Here I'm making 6 sets of 2 tower blocks joined end to end, and these are going to go in the middle of the set of 3 tower blocks long. And then I'm gluing 6 sets of 3 tower blocks together, and these are going to go in the middle of the 4 tower blocks long. You see in that space in between the tower blocks. You could glue this bit on earlier if you wanted to, but since I'm making this as I go along, I realised I needed it when I was going to put the shelves together. So I'm just gluing them together like this. And you need to leave the corners like this because that's where your legs are going to go. I'm just gluing the base now, and I'm just gluing all the corners, and then I'm going to stand up the long parts, one in each corner. And then this is when I realised that it was going to be not enough space between each shelf, so I had to make some more pieces to add on to the top. And these pieces are just 2 tower blocks long, so earlier on, instead of making them 6 along, you make them 8 tower blocks long. 8 tower blocks long. So I just glued them on top. Sometimes you have to make the stuff to see what you're going to need and how it's going to work out. And now I'm just gluing the middle shelf on. And I'm lining it up with the geometric bead you see there. So make sure it's lined up with them on all sides. And then I'm gluing the other shelf right at the top. If you wanted to, you could do an extra tower block and put it on the bottom with the beads so it looks like legs. I mean feet. It looks like feet at the bottom. I just thought of that just now, you could do that. So I had to cut down a couple of pieces of tower block for each shelf. Well, 4 for each corner, just to join it all together and make it stronger. If you have those wee cube squares from Dollar Tree, you could use them. So I did one of those in each corner, and now I am gluing on some half beads for feet. And then on the top I'm gluing on the 10mm beads to cover up those wee holes. Then I stained it with some early American wood stain. And this is how it turned out, and I love it. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I will find somewhere. Some projects are just worth spending the extra time to make, and then you can turn out with something really beautiful. But let me know which one of these DIYs is your favourite. What colour would you have made them? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Bye!